Hey guys, this is Andrew from Annie in Wonderland. Welcome back to the channel. So guys, let's dive straight in. So guys, this one is a bit of a personal one, close to my heart, and it's information sharing, because I've recently had situations that could have been considered gossip, but the information shared would have been useful for me to have a lot earlier on in my NDIS journey. And so I've done a bit about disability and consent, disability and communication, how to not out someone with a disability, all in the playlist below, guys. But this is the other thing of the flip side of that, of going back to duty of care, is when it's appropriate to share information. And that generally needs to happen with the person's consent, or if they're under the age of consent, the person's caregivers. That can, and even in a disabled adult, that can be a financial guardian, that can be a plan guardian, that can be a plan trustee, that can be a support coordinator. Because if you don't have all of the machinery working together, you're not going to get the best outcome for you. And that's what the NDIS is all about. It's all about improving those life outcomes for you. Guys, running on caffeine today. So that's a really interesting one that I've recently had to define for myself. What will I tolerate? This is a really interesting one to look at, that people with disabilities tolerate a lot. Historically, we've been a group that has been very marginalised, very pushed down, very isolated. Disability has been a source of shame. It's been thought to be a moral failing. Relationships, like romantic relationships, have been discouraged, leading to a lot of isolation and mental health issues as well. So you can see the complexity of what I'm getting into here just by having those alone. So now, information sharing is very different to gossip. Gossip is malicious, it tries to harm someone, it tries to derail their reputation. Gossip, almost precursor to cancel culture, trying to harm someone, trying to bring them down. Where we see some people might physically not have the capacity to keep a secret or a surprise. Like, we now teach our children not to keep secrets, that if they feel wrong or their body clues feel wrong, to tell a trusted adult as well. We're also starting to teach disabled people and vulnerable adults this as well. But then you see that service providers feel okay to change things, to not tell you, to even withhold information. And so this is where I've done the disability and communication series, but also now going back to gossip. The line that I've learnt to discover is, ask yourself, would you be comfortable if that was put on the front page of the internet? Front page of the internet, let's go with that. I'm mangling my metaphors, but let's roll with it. So that's the thing, but there are times when that information needs to be shared. You need to, as a service provider, they will have policies and procedures around the way they share that information. When, if it's something that has caused conflicts in the house, they might have a third party there to witness the conversation. You're allowed to have a third party advocate there as well. Making sure your plan is up to date with the right agencies and making sure that they've got a right copy of it. There's some really great tools within a lot of the free email systems, like Red Receipts, ringing and doing a follow-up phone call and tracking that phone call. I do that all the time with the blog because of my memory issues. So guys, that little bit of information sharing doesn't hurt, but if it would actively harm someone or out them, you have to be very careful. Get their consent. that person might know that person as well, and so it can backfire on you. You can look like an idiot as well, and sometimes it might not be appropriate to the situation. So, guys, that's a really interesting one about choosing your time and place. Um, Time sensitive information, it might require forgiveness rather than permission. So, time sensitive information it's particularly around the NDIS and support, is if you're a support worker and you need to support a client and you're trying to wrap up a phone call, you need to disclose you're a support worker and you've got to get to another client. And the other one is then the duty of care ones, that disclosing that information if the person is at risk of harm, at risk of harming themselves or at risk of harming others, or as a danger to themselves. Now this gets really tricky because a lot of providers use that at risk of harm a bit too liberally. So what I'm saying by that is that they will use that to have very grey areas where support workers are able to work within those wriggle rooms. When the support workers are great, ethical support worker, that works for everyone. But if you happen to get one of the people who don't understand the industry, don't understand your disability, or you simply just don't click with, that can be a really interesting and difficult topic to explore. Everyone deserves respect. Support workers deserve to be treated with respect, but respect needs to be earned. And you earn that respect through being in the trenches, by understanding that person, by working with that person, by sharing information with that person as well, picking up those person's needs, wants, desires. We all have them, and facilitating those, even though it might not be your ethics. And that's when you need to consider if support workers right for you, if you're a support person, or if you're a provider, looking at what policies and procedures you have around in place for handling information. So not talking about someone behind their back, or if you need to share information about them, letting that person know that you will do it as well, and how that person's information will be handled, what information you will be sharing, or even prompting or supporting the person to share it themselves. It's really important. Seeing that person go from a shy person to a person recording a YouTube channel is a plot arc that some of my support workers have seen me do, and that can be quite exciting to bring them along for the journey with you. And this is where a lot of agencies don't seem to get about just sending a new support worker all the time because they're people appalled. That's another issue that I'll talk about. The advantages of having a private person versus an agency. That video and blog post is in the work, guys. But as you can hear, still fighting off this infection. So I will be taking some time off, guys, over Christmas, New Year, to spend some time with friends and families as well. But guys, pop it in the comments below what you guys have had experience in the way of information sharing or working with a support worker. If you were a part of the hacks, how have having a disability or working with people with a disability impacted the way that you've set up your privacy and passwords and password systems as well, guys, because that's a whole other issue, especially if someone with a memory issue, say, uses the same password for everything, or has a book with your passwords written down somewhere, which Reddit for their blockchain vault actually recommend. So guys, that's a really interesting one. drop me a comment, and as always, you please like, share, and subscribe. And you can find me at Annie in Wonderland, How to Experience CNDIS, Little Annie over on Facebook and Pinterest, Annie in Wonderland, Annie in Wonderland over on Instagram. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.